Hello.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. I'm Aunjanue. Who are you guys?
I am Philip, also known as DJ Young Venom. I own a record store here in Jackson, Mississippi, and comic book shop called Offbeat.
And I am Gamma Ray, also known as Rachel. I am a lawyer by day and part-time cosplayer.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Thank you.
Now make me want to get another name.
It's overrated, honestly.
Don't let him fool you. He loves it.
So what do you guys want to talk about today?
I'm going to let you handle this, Gamma Ray.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us. I think I can speak for both of us. We are huge fans, and just off the rip, I mean, being a fellow Mississippian as well, I just feel like you definitely can relate and understand what it's like being a Black individual growing up in the South.
Yeah, I can, and I think I'd add to that, like being, you guys are artists, and you are interested in comic books, so I'm sure you find yourself removed in a lot of ways and a lot of times from, I would say, sort of mainstream of what is valued at home. So I would add that to the things that I can relate to, so far as a shared experience that we probably would have.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely not, especially being a Black nerd and geek growing up in the South. That experience definitely felt almost, siloed, alone, not knowing there were others out there, but trying to, like you said, not wanting to follow the mainstream because of our interest. But because of that, led us here today co-hosting a podcast together.
Yes, indeed.
So I think we just kind of want to start off. I mean, you have probably, just based on what I've seen and looked up about you, you have had an incredible, experience career-wise, just the different type of genres, movies, television shows. I mean, your portfolio is definitely impressive and dope. Do you kind of want to tell us just what that journey was like, being from the South and, getting nominated for awards and being on, huge hits like Lovecraft Country? I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, well, I think, do you want to talk about anything specifically? Do you want to talk about Lovecraft? Do you want to talk about the path to something like that, to Lovecraft, or
what was that path like, just being in the acting realm as a Black woman coming up on opportunities like that?
Yeah, well, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Please don't be offended by my.
Oh no, you're fine.
Please don't. I just moved into a place and it's wearing me out. Like I'm just, this is a lot. But anyway, so Lovecraft was, sometimes you just get these golden eggs as an actor, and this was definitely one of them for me. It was in the sense that it was the cocktail of all the things that I'm interested in and fascinated which is Wi-Fi, which is speculative fiction, and all of this along with horror is what Lovecraft is and focuses and centers. And my interest, I'm not a Friday the 13th fan or anything like that, but I do have an interest in horror. And I think that my interest in horror is not something that is recognized as horror, but it is horror. Like, for example, I love Toni Morrison's work. And Toni Morrison she's not recognized to be a horror writer, but she writes horror. She writes, and she writes about the supernatural. That's what Beloved was. Beloved was a ghost story. It was a horror story. It was a story about the supernatural. So, that kind of writing, that kind of storytelling, is what I gravitate to. It's what preoccupies me and what I think about every day. And so being a part of Lovecraft, when I found out about the job or the possibility of working on it, I felt that this was somewhere that I wanted to be, that country of Lovecraft. I felt like I was a citizen of whatever that was. And it came to me, and then it went to someone else, and they offered them the job. And in the meantime, I had another job, and that job fell through. And then the other person who they offered the job to didn't want to do the job. So it opened the door for me to audition for it. I auditioned for it, and it ultimately came my way. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't handed to me. But when it happened, I think that it was just, it was a timing thing. And it led me to have a conversation with you guys, open, those kinds of doors.
Right.
And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. And the reason why is that I think Lovecraft tapped into something that's so fertile with Black folks, but we are not honored in these genres, and often we are not honored. We are, we are expendable in them.
Mm-hmm.
We are killed immediately in both sci-fi and horror. So, this was a project. This was a series that, the Black folks in it were central. They were the focus of it. And I feel, that's rare storytelling in that genre, both, in most stories, most science fiction series, most horror series, with the exception of things that have happened maybe in the last couple years, you don't have that. And I think Black people have been waiting for that, We've been waiting for something like that. And I think Lovecraft tapped into that craving.
I definitely can agree with you on that. I couldn't get enough of this show. I mean, honestly, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Hippolyta. Like you, my favorite scene when you were just like, I am the motherboard. I was like, yes, like just come. Oh, it was awesome. Loved it.
With taking roles like that in Lovecraft Country, and me, little background on me is like my mom read comics, my grandfather read comics, and I grew up reading comics, and so I had to find our people of color in comics were few and far in between, but when we were there, we were like really powerful, which led me to like X-Men, because it was in a world that fears and hates them. That's very relatable to the Black experience, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, we are the mutants.
Yes. So when you see stuff like Lovecraft Country, well, when I see it, it was like, okay, this is sci-fi, but in its horror, but this is pretty much a lot of it's like everyday horror for Black people, especially growing up living in the South. You have to deal with, like in first episode, cops are behind you. Like, are they gonna pull me over? Are they not? Is it safe? Is it not? Like, you have to. Those are things in mind that we live through every day. Key and Peele, Jordan Peele tapped into that as well with Get Out, and I'm glad that we're seeing a lot of this stuff these days. But it's a lot of stuff that we in different stories that we still can tell, and I'm looking forward to the future with that. As far as people of color, Black people in sci-fi, in horror. Because we first got our like taste of that with the first Candyman movie, and since that's a movie about gentrification in kind of a whole, and we did a watch party at the store, and we did like a breakdown of like how that is gentrification and the replications of all of that led to that domino effect of this man being a ghoul, ghost, whatever, haunting these projects to where his own community, his own people fear him. And it's getting to the point where, how much more and with the Black experience, how much more horror, how much more trauma do we have to see on the screen? Because I feel like we see enough of it personally, and I know these stories do need to be told. And I have plenty of books that I've read all these stories from, and I used to work for the ACLU, and I've seen current day stories firsthand. But do you get drained from like? I know you probably don't, but do you get drained from like seeing like, oh, we have another movie like for instance, the movie that you're in, The Help? I refused to watch it just because I had a grandmother that was the help, quote unquote, and I was working at a TV station at the time, and I know it was a big deal, and everybody's like, oh, you should go see it, Philip, you should go see it, and I'm like, no, I don't have the desire to see a movie called The Help. And the trailer didn't grab me, and the whole experience, and it was shot in Fondren, and I was like, yeah, this is down the street. But do you, like I was saying, do you get tired of this stuff, or do you think it's important, but we should like kind of microdose, or should we like just go to the point where we start telling our stories ourselves, whether they get fully funded or we have to find a means to fund them?
That was a loaded question.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
All right. Well, let me start where you ended. So far as the help is concerned, and I know that a lot of people who I respect had problems with the help. Now, my issue with the help, even though I was in it, and I don't apologize for being in it. I know I've had people who I worked with in that movie. I don't want to speak for them, but I know that they have said that they have regretted being in the film. I don't regret being in the film for a couple different reasons. But one thing that is important to say about this is that what made the help problematic is that it was written by a white woman. Mm-hmm. And I think that is important to say, that it was written by a white woman and it was directed by a white man. Tay Taylor, who is from Mississippi, Catherine Stockett, who is from Georgia, lives in Georgia right now. But that made it highly problematic, highly. And anyone who takes issue with that, I'm like, I totally agree with you, because I am fighting that battle right now. For things, a story that I want to tell about a Mississippi woman, and somebody is producing something, and it's going to be written and directed by white people. And just disgusting to me. I can't say that enough. So I am completely with you on that. What I will say though is what got lost in this discussion about Black women. What got lost in this discussion is the honor of Black women domestics, because what we cannot do is say, and you say, and I'm sure you would agree that the work that your family member did was not important, was not significant, was not the root and the foundation of the civil rights movement as we know it. So we cannot say that women who were domestic workers were not heroic, because they absolutely were. They absolutely were. The Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party was composed, was made, was built on women and men who were farmers and were domestic workers. So we are enjoying, the rights that we have right now, because of domestic workers, because of maids. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what I take issue with when people invoke this idea that domestic working women cannot be heroic. I believe that is a lie of God. That is a lie against God when people say something like that. So that's incredibly, I cannot say enough how important that is to say.
Right.
So my aunt, when she passed away, she was an assistant instructor. She was a professor at a junior college. She was teaching nursing, right? But before, on her path to becoming an instructor of nursing, she was a maid first. She was a maid. And so many Black women were during that time. And listen, I live in a very white, gentrified neighborhood right now where I'm working in Chicago at the moment. I'm not at home. But I'm walking down the street, going to my car this morning, and who do I see but these white babies being, pushed down the street by Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So let's not pretend, first of all, that let's not pretend we don't exist. That's right. First of all, that's first and foremost. What we have to do is if we are going to tell these stories of these women who existed and who were central to who we are, the progress that we enjoy right now, the ostensible progress that we enjoy right now, that we have to do the story. We have to do the one telling it. You know what I'm saying? We have to do the one telling it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what makes it hard for people to trust it, for me, I'm only speaking for myself. What makes it hard for me to trust it is when I know that it's told through the prism and the prejudice of a white writer and a white director. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that there aren't examples where that has not been successful, but that has happened in a situation where Black writers and Black directors were being erased and marginalized. And the fact of the matter is that is still happening right now. We are having all of these kinds of conversations because around, now we're going to tell our stories. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the moment of, it is just so hot to be Black right now. Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In every way, Black art, Black TV, Black cinema, everything Black, right?
Yeah.
is fire right now. And that's fine. That's cool. But you would think that if that's the reality, that if the fire if it's hot, right, and there's fire, you would think that the person lighting the fire is Black people. But then when you look behind it, it's white people. It's the same people lighting the matches.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now. I'm going through that right now with a whole campaign that happened. And they came and did like a little mini doc, and a friend was like, he was like, I bet it's gonna be an all white crew, and I was like, oh, don't tell me that. I mean, luckily it was one black person. I was happy to see him, but it was mostly a white crew. It was two other guys was white.
So
It's shameful. It's shameful. It really is. I mean, if you come on the set that I'm on right now, the show that I'm doing right now, you know, it focuses, it centers on a black kid who was, you know, accused of killing a police officer. You know, the person who wrote it is a white British man.
mm,
If you you know, come on my set, most of the people in the crew are white people. They're white people. And what the reality is that we are dealing with, this is the film in America is just over a century old. The advent of film is just over a century old, right? It started in the early 1900s. The film in America is just over a century old. The advent of film is just over a century old, right? It started in the early 1900s. This is 2020. So you got 120 years. We have only had access, true access, with the, you know, there are exceptions with Oscar Micheaux, right? But having true access to everything that our white counterparts have had in order to make film has only been in the last 30, 40 years.
mm-hmm.
So we are dealing with like decades and decades and generations of not having access to the means to make film. I'm talking about being able to just have a camera.
So what do you think, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's not just about being, you know, having representation, because I shout it to the rooftops. Representation matters. It's important for, you know, people of color to see themselves properly and accurately represented, whether it's on whatever medium it's in, whether it's on screen, could be a cartoon show, cosplay, art, however. We want to see ourselves in that light. So in addition to wanting to be like in front of the camera, there's also an important role behind the scenes, you know, as the writer of our own stories, behind the cameraman, the sound person, and whoever's in the room, could be the makeup artist. So what, throughout your career, have you seen, you know, like you said, being black is hot now, being down, all that, have you seen a progression to, you know, more people, minorities, you know, blacks, having those opportunities, not necessarily like as actors, but, you know, the behind the scene roles? Or do you think it's still, I mean, we got a long way to go?
We got a long way to go. I think we have to be very vigilant, you know. The writer Zadie Smith, you know, said something I thought was really keen, and she said that that, you know, racism is the fight against racism is cyclical. And we want to think that it's a linear idea. Now, that's what she said. She said cyclical. Now, I'm going further with that. That we'd like to believe that it's a linear idea, right? That we started from there and then we're gonna go here. We're gonna go straight, right? But we see every day that is just not the case. It's just not the case. Like you know, there have been so many Black men and women who've been killed by the police since George Floyd died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we think, oh well, George Floyd died, and that was it. You know, that was it, and that's not the truth. You know, I can't even tell you how many of it. I'm sure you can't tell me how many that has happened to just since that happened.
Right.
because I can't keep up, and I'm spiritually and physically exhausted from it. I really physically cannot devote any more energy to it because it just hurts too much. And
Yeah.
and someone said that's the trick of racism, is that it will distract you. So this is the trauma of being Black, right? We are in constant state with Claudia Rankine said we're in constantly grieving, and as we should, because if we don't honor the people who we lose constantly to the disease of racism in America, not only will it continue to happen, but then people die for nothing, you know. But then how do you go to work every day? How do you continue to do the work that you guys are doing, and how do you continue the act of making? You know what I'm saying? Which
Mm-hmm.
is also central to surviving this hell in America. Our making music, our making comics, all of that making is central to Black survival, and it's a lot. That's a lot to carry with you every day, and I
Wow.
know it is for me. I can't. It is overwhelming, and I have to handle it and cope with it in different ways. But it becomes all it becomes too much. So what I do is I choose my battles. I choose my battles, like when and where I can engage, and then other people have to pick up, and then I come back in. You know, that's the only way that we can't fight all of it. And check this out: we're not meant to fight all of it because we're not equipped to fight all of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that sometimes this happens, that some bad happens to us, right? And we all want to respond, but our response is not necessarily helpful.
Right.
And there are people who are better at it than we are. You know what I mean? So we have to find ways to support that the person who is the people who are better at it, and let the people who are better at doing that, we support them. Because what ends up happening is we just do a whole lot of responding, and it's not effective.
It's,
It's not effective.
it's almost like how you kind of hear in the media a lot where people who have platforms, celebrities, who can reach a wide audience, like the, the almost condemning, individuals like you who, if you don't speak up, oh, it's almost damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I think it's true what you said. There's many ways you can essentially, participate in the cause or help it. Doesn't always have to be the act of saying something or responding. There could be other ways, like you said, pick and choosing your battles. I don't think that means you care any less. I think that's strategy. I mean, this
It's strategy.
unfortunately this is a long marathon that
Yeah.
we called life. But to hear you say that, I definitely agree.
Yeah, like it's stuff that I don't shut up about, that I do not shut up about, and I'm very public about, and I talk about it, and I say what I got to say about it, and you know, and how the chips fall where they gonna fall, and I don't care, and I can't care. I just can't care, because acting ain't gonna be my life. Acting is what I do for a living. Who I am is something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to be punished, if I'm going to be punished professionally for saying the truth, then I need to get another job. I need to do something else. But I'm not going to be quiet. And I get that question sometimes. Like, don't have you ever been afraid of some of the things you do, or some things you say, and it might have? And I'm like, no, I've never felt that way. I've never felt that way.
I definitely, to kind of piggyback back off you saying that, I think you, well, hands down, I mean, you were amazing at how you spoke out without any fear or hesitation against them changing the flag for our state. Thank goodness it got changed. You know, better late than never, unfortunately. But you definitely utilize your platform in a way to be like, hey, this is time for change. Like this, why are we still having the Confederate flag as a state flag? And Mississippi, it has its faults, and I think all of us here, we love our state, but sometimes when stuff like that is present, it makes it hard to defend it and fight for it when they're literally, it's a representation and emblem of racism in the worst part in time of history. So while you were, since when going through all that with wanting to change the flag, like what was really going through your mind? I know you weren't scared of, you weren't about to back down or anything, but what really drove you to be like, I'm not about to be quiet? I know this is a political issue, might make some people unhappy, ruffle some feathers, but this needs to be said.
In terms of what was going through my mind, I mean, I'm not the only one who was on this path of war path against this flag. This has been going on for generations in terms of the organized effort to get rid of the flag. So I just became one of the numbers. And I don't know, I feel like this is going to sound really simplistic, but it's just honest. I just felt like it's wrong.
Right.
And I've known wrong for, a long time. And I just felt like there was this, when I came back to Mississippi 10 years ago, I just felt like there was a silence surrounding it. And it was a silence that I couldn't be a part of because I couldn't, it physically affected me. And then I felt like I did not want my niece and nephew to grow up in a state like that, where it becomes, and I think there's so much silence about it. It just becomes this acceptance that it becomes like the weather. We just, this is the sky, the flag, we just keep it moving. Just don't give into it. Don't surrender to it. Don't surrender to its presence. And I couldn't live like that. Not for myself, not for my family, not for my, loved ones, my niece and nephew. I wanted them to live somewhere that was better than that. And let me tell you, I know Mississippi ain't changed one bit when that flag came down. Don't get me wrong.
Ooh, yeah.
I know that. I mean, and I think what people miss, because people, trust me, I have sat in a lot of empty rooms that I have tried to organize people to get together and rally behind getting rid of this flag, and people looking at me crazy, like, here she go again talking about this flag. But what people don't acknowledge is that the flag is a physical tool of segregation. Mm-hmm. It's not a symbol. And I think that language has been central to the discussion around the flag. So people are like, why should I care about a symbol? And that language is a lie, because it's not a symbol. It is a physical tactile tool of segregation. And segregation is supposed to be illegal in America. So why do we have proxies for it? And that's what that flag was.
Yeah,
if you see that flag somewhere, you don't go there. And right. you think white folks don't know that? They put that flag there to tell you not supposed to come in here.
Like, this isn't meant for us.
Right.
Heed warning.
Exactly.
Definitely. I think all of us were at least happy to see that Mississippi did not fail us, at least just this one time when it came to changing it. I mean, not crazy about the design, but it's okay.
Right. But see, this is important too, though. Mississippi didn't change because it had a change of heart.
It changed because of money.
It changed because of money.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we have to keep in mind. We cannot forget that. it was great. I was happy. I was clapping. I was like all by myself in California. And I was screaming and crying so loud that my neighbors put a note under my door because they thought somebody had attacked me. They thought something was wrong with me. Like, that was my level of excitement about it. But I'm clear. I'm clear as to why it happened. I'm very, very clear. They didn't want to lose football.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that they would, that football would be threatened. That money that they get from football would be threatened. And they didn't want to lose that. And that's what happened.
Oh, yeah. When you start hurting them pockets, that's when, unfortunately, people all of a sudden like, oh, we'll do the right thing and let's make a change.
Yeah, just follow the money is what I've been told.
Mm-hmm.
Everything will be shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So dealing with all this, the racial and social injustice, burdens of, racism in the South and whatnot, what would you say is your favorite type of creative outlet to, escape that? Because like you said, you can't have it weigh you down all the time. Like you gotta utilize it and make your creative content, let your creativity flow, or just an escape. I know for me, cosplaying has been almost just a life-saving game changer for me, especially during these crazy past year we have had. It's been a great outlet for me to just kind of not be weighed down or just emotional, like everything is just like, oh, nothing is right. But so I'm curious, like for you, what does that look like? Is it just strictly within your work? Is it something outside of acting? How do you just, escape it all?
Well, I get tremendous joy from just hanging out with my family. That's first and foremost. And then the other thing that I do, I haven't been able to do lately, unfortunately, I don't know, is I love live music. Like I go to concerts. That is my favorite thing to do, is to be out in the sun, sweating,
Oh, yes.
listening. I play music. Like I love that more than anything. It is just such joy to me. And I'm just ready for, I've gone to so many, festivals and stuff like that. That's what I do, so not to be able to do that, oh my God, it has sucked. It has sucked.
Yeah, this has been, honestly, never in a million years would I have thought the world, much less the country, would be going through a whole pandemic in the 21st century here. It's just like, wait, what? This is really happening? I can't hug people. I can't go outside. Movie theaters aren't safe. Like it's just so surreal. It almost really feels like we are in a movie or something, because this has just been crazy.
Yeah. And my favorite things to do, which is be on the beach, be at a concert, that's what I love doing more than anything. And I haven't been able to do those things. It really sucks. It really sucks. So I'm looking forward to, that returning in some sort of way, soon. But tell me about the cosplay. I know y'all supposed to be asking me questions, but tell me about the cosplay.
Yeah, so sure. I got into cosplaying about a little over maybe 3.5 years ago. There was a local con here in Jackson, the Mississippi Comic Con. My husband, he took me to it. I mean, I grew up a nerd, a geek. I love superheroes, comic books, anime, like all that. I had three older brothers and pretty much a tomboy wanting to hang with them. Video games, the works. So he knew I was into stuff like that. So he was like, let's go. We went, and I was like, I have found my tribe. Like there's nerds here. And I was like, I see black people that are like dressed up. Like this is, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So from there, I went to Dragon Con, and people were dressed up in like full on armor made out of foam, and the makeup, and looking like characters I've seen on TV and in my favorite TV shows. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I want to do this. And yeah, the cosplay bug bit me, and I have been cosplaying ever since. My first cosplay was me and my husband cosplayed as Rick and Morty, the cartoon show. And yeah, and he's like, well, you should go as Rick. I was like, really? Because I was prepared to go as Morty, but he was like, no, you should go as Rick. So I had a cheap blue wig and a lab coat, and I just thought it was the funnest thing ever.
You have
But
to send me a picture. I want to see that. I
oh,
want to.
definitely, I will make sure to get one to you. It definitely is in the early stages of my cosplaying. I like to think I've grown a little. What do you think? What do you say, Venom? I've gotten a little bit better since
Oh,
the
you
first
got a
one.
lot better. 'Cause
He's
that
like,
first one.
he loves critiquing me, but I take it as, tough love. He wants to see me do better. He's like, yeah, that's not right. You did that wrong.
God.
But yeah, I love it. I like I said, to me, representation matters, and I even in anime and cosplaying, like, so I don't get bogged down with trying to only dress up as black characters or even just black female characters. Like if I want to dress as this character that has, pink or purple spiky hair, I'm gonna put on a pink or purple kinky curly wig, put a little black girl magic twist on it, and I'm gonna dress as this character. I'm gonna make it my own, because I think it's important for, young black girls to see, like, oh, there's somebody that's interested in that, that's even an adult that looks like me. So this is okay. I'm not alone. I'm not weird. Because I really wish I had that. So any opportunity I can show off my geeky side, hey, I love it.
Yeah, I think that, oh my goodness, I was so weird as a kid. Oh my God. And, I am so thankful that I was weird. I'm so glad I was weird. Thank God.
Right.
I was weird, because being weird saved my tail. Being weird, opened so many doors for me. And I don't mean, when I say that, I mean, because I think when you are weird, you have to play alone a lot,
Yep.
and that's what I did. I had to play alone a lot. And I don't mean just like playing like physical play. I mean like play alone in your mind. And I think that has opened that solitude, forced me to create these alternate worlds. And, that has survived my childhood, and of course there's a loneliness to that, but there's also a freedom in that, a real freedom in that.
Right.
And, I think weirdness is a kind of freedom.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely spent many days, especially being a younger only girl growing up in the household. It was a lot of times, like you said, you just kind of are in your own imagination, and exploring the things you like. And only thing I regret is that I didn't open up this side of myself earlier on. I kind of hid it out of, nobody's going to understand. People are going to think I'm weird. But as I got to a certain age, it was almost like, you know what? Either you're going to like it or love it. I don't care. This is who I am. And yeah, I'm just surrounded by people who genuinely accept me. They might not understand it, but they're just like, that's you, and we love it.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's good. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have for you, Miss Ellis. We're not gonna hold you up too long.
I know it's been a pleasure. Oh my gosh. Again, just the fact you took time out. Thank you
Yes,
for
really,
speaking
really
with
do
us.
appreciate it.